From the studios of KENW on the campus of Eastern New Mexico University, it's You Should Know, featuring the people and events of Eastern New Mexico and West Texas.
Welcome to You Should Know. I'm your host, Evelyn Ledbetter, and my guest today is Ben Salazar. And this is his title, Community Music Advocate and Musician. Welcome, Ben. Thank you for joining me on the show
Well, I
today.
appreciate the invitation. Yeah.
A community music advocate and longtime player.
Yes, actually, probably since about 10 years old. Just grew up in a family of musicians and just kept the tradition going.
That's part of it. Well, tell me your history. Where did you grow up in this area?
I,
And I know you do, but our viewers don't. So
oh,
tell us a
sure.
little bit about that.
Sure. Born and bred in Clovis, so of course, I bleed purple, as the saying goes there, and beating Wildcat. Went to school there, graduated from Clovis High. At that point in time, I knew I wasn't ready to go to college, and I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I saw the opportunity and the idea that the military would pay for my college afterwards. So I went to the U.S. Army for 3 years. Thought I was going to stay in, but then I decided at that point in time I had done enough and wanted to come home and start school. I came home and went to school here at KENW. Left in 1982. Actually worked in, at that time, what was called the Office of Chicano Affairs, and did that for 2 years. And then somehow or another, because of the fact that people say I'm never shy of a microphone or a camera, David Briseño and I, who used to host Cultura here on KNW, we started a Hispanic Affairs public radio program here at Channel 3, actually on KENW FM.
Okay.
And sitting in the Office of Chicano Affairs, I saw the satellites over at the old TV station and thought we could do a broader reach. So I approached Mr. Ryan at that time and asked him if we could start and reinvigorate. Actually, David Gonzalez, who was a graduate of ENMU,
Right.
had started a program called Cultura. So when he left, the program basically discontinued. And so David and I picked up the banter and ran with that. And then from ENMU, I went on to Santa Fe, and then just a long history of marketing and music and enjoying life.
Well, you are very shy.
Yes.
It's hard to get words out of you. Well, let me do this. Thank you for your service. We
Sure.
do have Veterans Day coming up,
Yeah, absolutely.
or Memorial Day,
Right.
Veterans Day later in the fall.
Well,
but,
thank you so
but
much.
thank you so much for that. So, but truly, talk about your music. I mean, that's a lot of what. How did you start playing?
Well, I come from a family of musicians.
Okay.
All my uncles, played music, and so growing up, it was just uncommon and very common that we would gather at somebody's house, one of the aunt and uncle's houses on Sundays after church, and we would just clear out the living room, and that became the music hall and the dance hall. So we grew up around music,
Mm-hmm.
and so some of us cousins chose to just continue the tradition. Of course, any musician will tell you that there's got to be mentors in your family that have influenced you. So I not only had uncles, but I had cousins that played in bands, and just grew up knowing the fact that music was going to be a part of my life.
Right.
And at that time, Clovis had a very vibrant
Mm-hmm.
music scene. And so, basically, I got to learn to play country music. I got to learn to play R&B music. My dad used to play with a band and help out Norris McPherson and Fisher Alexander, and known as Big Mac and Little Fish,
Oh, that's
and
fun.
used back in the day. And so I learned to play blues with that band, and then of course always Spanish music has always just been a part of what I've always
Mm-hmm.
played.
Well, and I've enjoyed your music and danced when you're playing, and you still play.
I still play. Yes, I still play, and so I've been blessed in the fact that musicians and other musicians think that I can still drum very well. And so, our latest project, Full Circle Band, has kind of taken on a 60s, 70s flavor, and Mickey Morgan, of course, he works here
Mickey works here at the
at the
station.
station. Then Casey Carpenter, Sean Moore, and Steve Hansen, and so we're being busier than we anticipated, but that's okay.
Well, and I did an interview on Uncle Mike's some
Yes.
time back.
Oh, yes. And that was a great interview.
Yeah. I thought Alan does our editing and shot most him and Hannah
Right.
and one of our
Absolutely.
students and did a really nice job on
Absolutely.
that. But and I know you play there.
Yes, I
on
played at Uncle
occasion.
Mike's, yes, and you know, it's we call it the stage built for musicians by musicians,
Hmm.
and we actually think it's like the nicest stage in the area.
Well, of
Plenty of
course.
room,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
and then the
nice.
drummer has a riser, so I'm up there by myself, which usually we're stuck back in the back where nobody sees us. But yeah, Uncle Mike's has been a great venue and a great outlet for developing and showcasing talent.
Sure. And you sing as well?
I
Or
wouldn't call
backup?
it singing. I would call it more of just
A, jo-
uttering words into the microphone, and so
a joyful noise?
yeah, joyful noise. Yeah, yeah, and so you know that's part of what I'm starting to get better at. And so you know, a musician that basically says I've learned everything that there is to learn hasn't really understood the concept of music because you're always constantly learning.
And do you have a genre that you prefer to,
I
or that
prefer my preference would be 60s and 70s music,
mhm,
and classic rock,
right.
and then of course Tejano style
Hmm.
Spanish music. You know, we grew up 9 miles from the Texas border, so there's a significant difference between the music in northern New Mexico and on this side
There
of the
is.
mountains, and it's just we're more influenced by the Tejano
Hmm.
influence, which incorporates a lot more jazz kind of
Right.
progressions. And it's not played as fast of a tempo. But, you know, my dad being born in Chamita, which is right out of Española, I mean, if I need to play with a Northern New Mexico band and need to keep up with the beat, I can do that.
They always say, like, when you learn a language, you'll tend to forget a little bit, but when you
Oh,
get back
yes,
with people that speak that language, it comes right back.
absolutely,
So that's
absolutely.
fun. That's fun. Well, we're actually here. This is something that you've started putting together, and it's through the New Mexico Economic Development Department. And so I'm going to let you talk about what has been put together
Okay.
on this.
Okay, so one day I get an email
Uh-huh.
from the Chamber of Commerce in Clovis saying that there were some individuals that were here from other in Clovis from Santa Fe that were collecting and wanting to meet with local artisans, musicians, crafters, people that just basically create their own product
Hmm.
in terms of you know trying to just make extra money or just part of what they enjoy doing. But you know I think people need to understand first of all, Evelyn, is that 1 out of every 9 uh, businesses in New Mexico is built on creative economy, which is creative arts. That may be painting, pottery making, jewelry making, music. And so it lends to the economy of New Mexico in
Sure.
terms of how all this is generated. Well, the New Mexico Economic Development Department created what they call the Creative Services Division. And so, through under the Creative Services Division, these gentlemen came down, Mike Young and Rashad came down, and they met with local artisans, members of the chamber, Main Street Economic Development Board. And what we discussed was how do we create and how do we get a local creative economy going. And so they did this around the state, gathered information, got input in the process of formulating the strategic plan. But it's something that we know has always existed in New
Sure.
Mexico. This is just a way by which we can further develop and highlight in each particular community what we have to offer, or what that community has to offer, and venues and avenues by which the creative economy can flourish and lend to the local economy.
Well, and I know, from what I've read, and of course I love to cook, but New Mexico is known as the second largest foodie state after
Yeah,
Louisiana, and then of course our arts. So anytime people travel, no matter what the city is,
sure.
you tend to have music venues, you tend to have painting, you have jewelry, um, the creativeness
Hmm.
of people is amazing,
Right,
and that's something that people do travel from town to town, and I think enjoy and
right.
take a piece of something back home from New Mexico.
Oh, absolutely. And you and I both know that
Right.
Santa Fe is like, you know, Santa Fe Taos,
Mhm.
you know, the Albuquerque art market. You know, it's just basically Indian market. They have
Right.
Indian market in Santa Fe. They have Spanish market. And so big draw
Mhm.
from across the nation
Right.
and from across the world. I mean, people travel from all over the world for Indian market to come into Santa Fe. And so those hubs we know exist. And so
Sure.
those hubs have always just been part of that local economy. And the purpose, I think, and the concept of the Creative Services Division is to go beyond the borders of Santa Fe and
Right.
Albuquerque and Taos and expand into the entire state because basically, you know, it is a creative economy that
Uh-huh.
leads to the entire state's economy. And so, you know, we're looking to hopefully show people how to basically start making a living
Right.
off of creative living.
Not just that side gig of doing something on the weekends or
Exactly.
having to have a steady job, a
Right.
Monday through Friday type job, and then have that as you
Right.
supplement of evenings and on
Yeah,
weekends.
exactly,
Actually
yeah.
get a platform that you can make a true living through the creativity in and your talent.
Right, right. Now, as a musician, you never really make any money unless you hit it big. It's good extra. It's good extra money. But a long time ago, when I started into music, I realized the fact that I didn't want to go on the road. And at that time, I played in a band with Mickey Morgan called Stage West. It was me, Ronnie Miller from
From
Floyd,
Floyd.
and then also Danny Ferguson from here in Portales. Well, I had like 2 semesters left to finish up school here at Eastern. And I knew that I really wanted to finish and complete my education.
Sure.
So when it was time to go on the road, I kind of told the guys, if I go, I'm not sure I'll ever get back. So I decided to stay. So I kind of at that point realized the fact that, I'm going to be what's called a weekend warrior in terms of music. And so along those lines, I decided and help pay my way through college and add it to the family income. But at the same time, it's like they say, a musician is the only person that'll, spend $500 on a vehicle and then go do a $50 gig, and then when you come back, you spend those $50 at the music store. So you never really make any money.
Well,
But
I think that is part of the arts.
oh, absolutely, that's
Like
part of
you
the
have a
art.
passion and something
Oh,
inside of you
absolutely.
that you get enjoyment out of it,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
hopefully help pay a little bit of the
Oh,
bills.
sure, sure. And like I said, it was very handy, when I came to college, it's like, that weekend money helped. And so, but there are people that, are just really talented enough that are looking for venues
Hmm.
and avenues by which they can create this economy. And part of it, as with the conversation we had yesterday with the folks from the Creative Services
Right.
Division, was the idea that it doesn't always have to be local.
No.
I will give you an example. There's a knife maker there in Clovis, New Mexico, that all of his product and most of his product is exported through his website. And I never knew that somebody would actually pay $25,000 for a set of chef's knives.
Oh, I don't think I ever knew that either.
Yeah, well, yeah. So when he showed me the set of knives, it was a custom set designed for a chef in Italy. And that set of chef's knives, specifically designed for him, was going to cost that chef $25,000.
Well, and the funding for what's happening with this
Yes,
program, with it being through the economic development
yes,
for the state, there was a House Bill 8 that was
yes.
put in place. My understanding was signed into place April of
Right.
2023,
Hmm.
and $1.8 million was funded for the fiscal year beginning July 1 of last year through
Right.
June 30th. And people all over the state were able to apply for this funding, correct?
Yes.
And it
Right.
was literally to get it out into, like you said, those places that other than Albuquerque and Santa Fe
Right.
and those bigger
Right.
towns, the places that are known for art,
Right.
but to get funding, and they actually funded 18 of the projects.
Right, 18 of the projects, and so we're really in the learning stages of
Hmm.
how all of this is going to work. But we got some creative people. There's going to be 2 full-time positions within the division that are going to further develop the process. Lobby the legislature for more money and be able to get it fully funded in terms of what we see is the potential of what a creative economy can do to New Mexico on a statewide level.
And truly trying to give that infrastructure underneath, or
Absolutely,
to be stable enough
absolutely,
to have your artisans and musicians and everybody get busy
absolutely.
and have something behind them. And
Right.
COVID was a tough deal.
It was, it was. But there's a saying
So
that I really picked up on and really enjoyed, and it was at a seminar that was at, and they were talking about the idea of what COVID did to our economy and to our lifestyles, and the statement that was made was, even though we faced a lot of challenges through COVID, it also afforded an opportunity
it
for
did.
resiliency.
It did.
So as we mentioned on the phone yesterday,
Right.
a lot of the restaurants created patios,
Hmm.
outdoor patios, where once the shift to be able to have an outside patio, and so they knew that part of the draw was going to be how do we get people in these patios to understand the fact that we're making a shift, and it provided a lot of avenues by which local musicians, and solo artists could go in there and actually perform on a solo basis, and that in a sense created a level of resiliency in terms of the fact that okay, we're musicians, and we're restaurant owners. So how do we combine our talents and our brains together to make sure that the patio process and the patios are still there,
Sure.
and most of them are having entertainment, every weekend.
Well, and that was a big investment for those businesses that were
Absolutely,
able to stay open, was to have meals out, and then they had the
absolutely,
music, and that made it where musicians could come in and play, and so
absolutely,
it did develop a different platform
right,
that stayed afterwards.
absolutely.
And Clovis, I remember back in the mid '80s, the mall kind of came about.
Hmm.
Main Street just
Yes.
disappeared
Yeah.
almost. But the rebuild there has been amazing over the last 30 plus years.
Well, I think a lot of people understood the historical value of Main Street, and I think it's kind of a process. But when you go through different cycles in life and challenges to an economy and to a way of life, I think the idea, the fact that Main Street really became a nostalgic thing, that people understood the fact that it was a resemblance of good times in their lives.
Sure.
I remember every Saturday morning going downtown and paying on the layaways down at Anthony's and Levine's, and then we would go to Rexall's, Broden Smith, right there on the corner. And I'm going to age myself because we actually used to be able to get a hamburger, fries, and a small Coke in a real glass, for 39 cents for the whole shebang. And so that was a big highlight. And so I think it kind of Main Street has always been nostalgic to me. And I
Right.
think the idea of the fact that there's a movement and has been a movement to really revitalize Main Street, it kind of brings back those nostalgic times, and it is the hub of the community.
Well, and back in days for our community, truly the courthouse square, the main street,
Absolutely.
you had your businesses
Sure.
around and everything that you needed. There was the car dealerships and the clothing and the
Right.
shoes and your hardware stores.
Right.
You could get anything you needed from each small town.
Yeah.
And it makes me sad when you drive into little towns
Yes.
and that commerce and buildings are gone and
Y-
run down. So
Right.
building those back up and through the Main Street projects and things, another focus of the economic development portion of this.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I'll give you a typical example of a really, really good project. Is Clovis, decided to build up that area down by the railroad tracks,
Mhm.
and fortunately, some entrepreneurs decided that they want to go in and bid out a restaurant there, which is now the Rails. And then of course they built that. They took the locomotive that was over at the park, put it in there, and kind of just developed it around that area, which was another part of the
Right.
whole idea of the fact that people that were traveling by rail, if they had a layover, they could easily walk downtown and do all the shopping and kind of
Sure.
do the ideas of what just they wanted to know about the community. And so the legislature, and of course, thank God through Congress that they've understood the fact that we've got to revitalize Main Street as part of the a part of the process. And again, I think what's happening with Main Street is that not only so much is that their local economy in terms of just the local patronizers, but they've also understood the fact that the internet came along. So a lot of like antique stores and are
Sure.
utilizing the internet to not only sell their products locally, but just sell them all over the world.
Well, and just like you were saying with the artist, the knife
Right.
maker, he would not have found
Exactly.
his vendor, or not the vendor, but his
Right.
customer in
Right.
Italy if it hadn't been for that.
Absolutely.
So the combination of the two.
Absolutely.
Well, Clovis actually has an event coming up, true,
Yes.
that June 8th, I
Hmm.
believe, is the date on that. And
Right.
what all are they doing on
Well, we've titled so Main Street, and because I don't know how to say no. I was contacted by the Creative Services Division by Mike Young, who actually is a contractor with the Creative Services Division to create these events throughout the state. And so June, I think, believe 3rd through the 9th is actually what they're calling Creative Services Week
Mhm.
throughout New Mexico. And so we've got locations, and they picked locations around the state to actually host events and create the concept of the idea, the fact that this market exists, and how do we help promote it. So we've labeled our event, thanks to Lisa Pellegrino from Main Street, came up with a real neat concept and name and tag, and it's called Create and Activate throughout eastern New Mexico.
Okay.
And so we're going to have an event on 8th and Main, which is actually the patio area where they usually do the Foodie Fridays
Mhm.
in Clovis. And it's a real nice park area and plenty of parking and then built-in stage. So on June 8th, we're going to actually host an event as a culmination of Creative Services Week. We've got music lined up. We've got
Are
creative.
you part of that?
I'm
Are you?
coordinating the music only. I just figured I got too much on my plate,
I'm
so I'm
teasing
just
you.
coordinating the music. We've got some great artists, and I'll mention them here in a little bit. But we're going to have entertainment from 9 until 3:30
Oh,
that morning. We're going to have, I think, right now, I think we're up to 15, potentially 20 creative arts vendors. They're going to be out there displaying their wares, and then you would some demos on maybe jewelry making, that type of stuff. And then, of course, food. We're going to have some food wagons out there.
mhm.
Which in a sense, those food wagons are really kind of a creative way by which,
They are.
again, became an economy on its own based on the fact that a lot of restaurants were not able to open their
Mhm.
facilities during COVID. So a lot of the food wagons came into play.
Sure.
So we're going to have food out there as well. But this is all part of the process of creating an environment in Clovis to highlight the fact that we have a creative
Mhm.
economy. We have people with tremendous creative talent. And of course, we've always known that, Clovis has got that music scene. And so putting the musicians together was easy. And so we've got some great talent lined up. And it's just a great day of fun. Also, the library, which is right across the venue where this is going to take place, which is right there on 8th and Main. Our library has agreed to do sidewalk chalk painting for
Oh,
the
that's
kids
fun.
from 10 to 11.
Okay.
So just kids can go right across the street with their families and do some chalk painting for about an hour and right there on the sidewalks and stuff. And so we've got not only the public library involved, but we've got musicians involved, crafters, food wagons, and we just want the public to come out and enjoy a full day of entertainment and seeing all and some of the crafting
Mhm.
ideas that are going on in town and in the area.
Sure, sure, and summertime's a nice time, and and
Sure.
and hopefully we won't have the burning hot days,
Well, exactly.
but, something else I when we were talking with, Mike and Lisa yesterday, they were talking about not only this being a one-day event, but truly establishing where, creative artists can be able to teach
Sure.
and do some online classes with weaving or jewelry making or any of those types of things, that not only do they just have one market that's to sell
Right.
the product, but also to help people build those skills as well.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
that's a really nice, hopefully sustain that kind of like the patios gave music a
Sure.
venue. Then if you give other people a way with the internet and things, a way to learn and teach those crafts,
Right.
it continues on.
Right. Well, and one of the things that has spurred from that is, and then I'll kind of go into it and kind of segue into what's happening with the Clovis Studios, which is also going to be part of the creative process in Clovis. We're in the process of formulating a music association there in Clovis so that musicians can network among each other, which we normally do anyway. It'll be
Right.
more in a formal manner, in a structured manner. And so the organizational process and the strategy and the structure of how it's all going to be put together is still in play. But it's all part of what we feel is, again, creating that market for sustainability, so that people understand the fact that longevity of any creative art can actually be part of the process to just keep the economy going.
Before I forget, I want to give out some information for people.
Sure.
To be able to learn more about this, there's a website, and you can go to the Economic Department of Development, but it's EDD dot spelled out New Mexico .gov/business, and then dash development. So, or you can just do a search on their website
Hmm.
that's for the creative industries.
Right.
And there's ways that it'll tell people how they can apply for some of the funding and things like that. Along with that, or just an easier way to remember, go to the website and it's edd.newmexico.gov.
Hmm.
And then there's a search in there, and you could actually just put the creative industries on that, and an email address, Shani Harvey,
Hmm.
and it's SHANI.Harvey, HARVIE at edd.nm.gov.
Hmm.
And that's a way for you to contact somebody, for getting more information or
Right.
to register. There's a place to sign up on that website
Right.
where you can say, hey, email me information on this as it continues to grow and
Sure.
develop. So I just wanted to make sure and get that. And
Absolutely. And if I may, Evelyn, I kind
sure,
of like to just highlight some of the musicians
sure.
that are going to be there. So we've got Jason Jewett,
Okay.
who is part of the Uncle Mike's project down here, that'll be performing. We've also got the Clovis Belly Dance Troupe that's going to be out there demonstrating, and they'll actually maybe doing a little demos and getting people involved in part of the belly dancing process.
Are you
And
going to
then
join in on that?
yeah, well, I don't know about that. I can't even do the hula hoop, so I don't, and then we've also got people that know these gentlemen very well here from Portales, Bobby Roybal and Nick Baglin with Pony Creek will be out there. And then we've also got a folklorico group
Oh,
that's going to be out there,
oh, that'll be fun.
which will be doing their dancing, and then probably getting the audience members involved and stuff like that. Then we've got Richard Nelson, who is a really, really talented young man, plays a great genre of music. And then we've got Shelton Rowling, who is from Lubbock. And I heard him at one of the local breweries, and just a versatile musician. So he was just thrilled that we reached out to him and asked him to come on in. And he's somebody that hasn't really performed much in the area, so we're kind of looking forward to him. And then Casey Carpenter will be
Okay.
closing out the show. And
Boy,
of
that
course,
sounds
Casey's
great.
the lead singer for Full Circle.
Right, right.
Great voice and great talent and lots of energy.
Yes, very much.
Yeah, Casey brings a lot of energy
He
to
is
the group.
fun. He is fun.
Yes.
Well, Ben, this is great information. So June 8th, but also
Mhm.
for artists and musicians and other people in the creative world,
Mhm.
go to that economic development website and look at
Right.
that. And this program, if it continues on in the future,
Right.
hopefully it will, and just continue to grow this market.
Absolutely. And they can reach out to me on Facebook as well.
Okay.
And just send me a message, and if they want more details, we can get those to them.
Okay.
Contact Lisa at Main Street, Lisa Pellegrino at Main Street, if they're
Okay.
interested, if they're a vendor
Okay.
and would like to participate. There's a $25 fee, but all that money will be going back into the Main Street program to further develop more programs. And then, it's just one of those things where we want people to understand the fact that there's an outlet by which they can showcase their products. And then the idea of the fact that, again, this is part of the long-term
Sure.
vision of what the Economic Development Department wants to do through this, and hopefully just establish a level of sustainability to where one of these days we may be able to do a show on your show
Sounds
with all the
great.
creative people.
Well, Ben, that's got it for us today. We've got a lot of information, but dig into those websites and look. And thank you for being here and joining us.
Well, thank you for affording us the opportunity. We'll see everybody on June 8th.
That's true. And to all of you out there, thank you for watching. Cheers.